Okay, welcome back, broskies, to the channel. This is the first podcast where I've hosted, and I couldn't think of anyone else to have on the channel to start with. And hopefully, first of many with Hass as well, because he was a very good guest. The sort of talk just flowed. Very good conversations, very good topics that we spoke about, and a couple cheeky releases in there too. Very excited to put this all together because, yeah, it just flew by. Almost 2 hours on this podcast. But anyways, enough waffling from me. Just a quick little intro. And if you do want to feature on the podcast, don't be a stranger. Hit me up on Instagram or comment down below too. And yeah, enjoy, broskies. First episode of a guest on the channel. Got my brother Hass. Big up. I've spoken about him on the channel quite a few times. He's given me quite a few dubs in terms of releases. Couple heartaches as well, where I felt like I've missed out and had to reach for the resale route. But yeah, Hass, welcome. Introduce yourself to people who don't know who you are. Yeah, go for it, bro.
Yeah. Well, obviously, you know my name, Hass. I've been a long time sneakerhead now, for quite a few years. Never really was out there with it, but with the world of YouTube now and everything else, I thought I'd take the jump and sort of get into it and share everything that's good with sneakers at the moment. So it's very kind of my brother Erkin here to invite me along on the show. And a little bit of a background for me. Um, I well, I I got in contact with Erkin. I think it was last year at some point,
Yeah, yeah.
and I basically do podcasts and live streams, football wise. Tottenham, whatever. Tottenham's my team. Unfortunately, there
Boo,
is a bit of a
boo.
rivalry there, but yeah, I sort of invited Erkin onto one of my shows, and he happily obliged, and it was a really good show, to be honest. It was all amicable, and it was all light-hearted. There was
Yeah,
banter, it was all
yeah.
light-hearted, but we couldn't take away from the fact that we both love sneakers and stuff. So repping sneakers and stuff. um and yeah, we just decided, you know what, it's a long time coming, let's do something together. Let's talk about shoes. Let's talk about what we love. So yeah. And before Erks gets to it, I know he's going to mention the fact that I was on MasterChef 2022 Series 18. My little claim to fame. But that's my little claim to fame. MasterChef Series 18 2022. Didn't get very far, but hey, the experience was great. And if you go back, by the way, you won't see me wearing any sneakers or anything like that. I was pretty much kept it smart and everything else, just plain shoes. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's in a nutshell. That's me, man.
Nah, big up Hass, man. Honestly, bro, because we've been talking about doing something like this for a while, whether it is a weekly thing, monthly thing, a one-off, who knows, man. But we've always had good conversations, whether it is football, sneakers. Even though obviously I'm an Arsenal fan, you're a Tottenham fan, but it's all love, man. It's all love. The love we got for sneakers as well. And like with most people, that's how you get to know a lot of people that you wouldn't normally talk to, or connect with in real life or online or whatever. But I want to take it back. What was the first shoe, if you can think of one, that made you kind of fall in love with collecting or just the sneaker culture in general?
I think for me, I'm going to bring it way back, and then we'll go to more recent, because for me, it was way back in '92. I was a wee boy, 10 years old, 11 years old, but I was really impressionable with shoes and everything else. For me, the '90s was one of the best times in terms of like sportswear. Nike, I mean, Adidas was competing as well. I don't like to use Adidas too much because I'm not really a big fan,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
was like Adidas, your Pumas, this, that, and the other. But Nike just stood out in the '90s, and for me,
yeah.
1992, they released the Nike Air Huarache Cool Blue, and it was the one with the mesh going over the front, over the lace. It was a sort of like a lace lock system. There we go. My brother's got
This
got the
one right
photo.
here.
Yeah, that for me, when I saw this shoe, I was in love. Like, forget about any girls or anything like that. That was my first love. And I suppose the fact that I couldn't get these shoes when I was younger, I always very much got given what I was given by mum and dad. and whoever. So the whole ethos was, you know, you save up, buy whatever
Mm.
you need. But I just couldn't get hold of these shoes, and I used to see it on everyone's feet, and I was like, damn, I really need those. I really need those. But obviously, since then, I've had so many pairs of Huaraches, including a different iteration of these ones, but these were pretty much the ones that set it off for me
Yeah.
and made me just fall in love with Nike. And can I just say, the Huarache symbol, right, is for me, that was iconic and it still is iconic. That symbol,
Yeah. Yeah.
it gave me goosebumps every time I saw it when I was a kid. I was like, wow.
You
And
had to have a minute. It was one of those shoes. Like this was one of the first because I was born in '93, but even me growing up around that era, it was the Huarache, whether it was the Air Trainer Huarache, obviously '90s Air Max ones, 180s as well. They were popping. But I just remember that I think it was like the second sort of retro of these. Yeah, I remember going around Wood Green. Me and my sister, she was hounding Foot Locker, JD. Have you got this colorway? And I was like, there was this one colorway. It was just, yeah, you just had to have that colorway. But with the shoe, it definitely was one of the first to have the whole culture in a chokehold. Do you know what I mean? And when that strap sadly sort of passed away or broke, yeah, you still rocked it heavily. Do you know what I mean?
bro, many a times I saw these shoes like they turned into like it was like it had wings because the strap obviously broke and people still wore them
Mm,
obviously when it was broken. It was, but look, for me, it was just incredible. And to think like when we were younger, we used to sort of beat these up, you know, we didn't
mm,
care, we played football in them, and we didn't really care about, you know, keeping them clean or anything else. We just,
yeah,
you know, we just wanted to wear the shoes and wear it, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah. So in terms of like modern, because I know you're a big SB guy, SB Dunk guy, but what would you say at the moment in terms of like the modern day love of sneakers? Like, what's that one shoe that you can't get enough of at the moment? What would you say?
first of all, word to Jeff Staple, my man, brought the whole thing together for us. I am what Erkin is to Air Maxes, I am to Nike SB, Nike
Mm,
Dunk, because um for me, the dunks, what how they've evolved through the years since the early 2000s to what they are now, I think has got to be one of the most successful silhouettes of all time. And
mm,
to think it started from, you know, the first iteration of the Nike Dunk High, obviously 1985 Chicago's, which Michael Jordan famously wore, and here we are now. But for me, the evolution of Nike Dunks, Dunk Low, has got to be one of the most successful sort of stories in the company and what the
yeah,
company's built it up to be. So for me, obviously, we can go back, we can look at the pigeons. I mean, the pigeons are just stupidly
iconic.
insane. They are iconic. They tell a story. Um, Obviously, when that first come out, people were queuing up, and to think people paid $80 at the time for these shoes, and now to think they're going for near enough £30,000 online is just insane.
Crazy.
But yeah, I mean that alongside the London SB Dunks, even the Jedi's for me, it was just because I'm
Oh,
a huge Star Wars fan.
yeah.
And although unofficial, that was synonymous with Star Wars. The SB Dunks, the Jedi's were just
Mm,
unreal. And even, you know, those are just going for insanely high
yeah.
amounts. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. But if we're talking more recent times, I do regret not picking up any of the Lobster SB Dunks.
Yeah. I'm
And
with you. I'm with you on that one.
yeah, I'm so. Do you know what? Obviously, I'd just be happy to get the orange pair at this moment in time. I'm working on something. I've got other friends out there that have the whole pack somehow, but yeah,
Somehow, innit? There's that word,
bro,
somehow, man.
bro,
Yeah.
you see you see the lobster pack, right? And you think, wow, it's
Yeah. Piece of
unreal.
art, innit? Piece of
It's
art,
crazy.
honestly. I think the orange is definitely more achievable if you know what I mean, like for us anyway, like when you're not trying to spend too much. But yeah, I'm with you. When the orange lobsters dropped recently, it was just like, wow. It makes you sort of rekindle the sort of admiration you have for the rest of the colorways and stuff like that, even SB Dunks in general. Do you know what I mean? So obviously we can see behind you, for audio listeners, there's a bigger collection than me. Let's just say that. But what sort of time frame did you start taking collecting more seriously, or was it like drips and drabs and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I've always had a healthy number of sneakers, right? I've always loved having, you know, my 95s, my 97s even, 90s. I've always loved having a good collection, maybe one or two of each. But um, I think it really started when I went to Miami a few years back. I think almost 3 years ago, and seeing the culture out there, and seeing how much people were into their sneakers and all these other exclusives out there, and it just opened up my mind. Like, you know, I was like, wow, there's this whole culture, and it's alive in front of me in Miami. Like, I've because back in London, we just used to working, coming back home, you know,
Yeah,
not really.
yeah,
But out there, it was like, you know, you talk to people about shoes, and you're there for about 1 or 2 hours just talking about different
yeah.
stuff and
Different
about the
world, isn't it?
childhood, this, that, and the other. So for me, it started almost 3 years ago in Miami, seeing the heat on feet. Pardon the expression, but there was heat on feet everywhere you looked. People wearing SB Dunks, people wearing Jordan ones, people wearing some
Yeah,
exclusive Air Maxes, you know, and it was like, wow. And going into all these like shopping malls and stuff, and seeing the shoes available, I was like, wow, it's just crazy. And
kid
you
in a
know, that
candy store,
year,
isn't it?
I mean, that year I ended up coming back with 4 shoes in my suitcase.
How did you get away with it with the customs, man?
Well, this is the thing. I had to take them out the box,
Yeah,
and
flatten
I
them.
had to wrap them in cling film because I was conscious of, you know, it being thrown around and stuff. So that was the only thing I was gutted about, was the fact that I didn't have the boxes to these shoes, but I had to have them because they were exclusives.
Yeah, yeah,
And that really set it off for me. When I come back straight away, I was like, the first thing I did was, right, I'm gonna go back, revisit my childhood, and I'm gonna get all the shoes that I wanted when I was younger. And that's where I started off. That was the starting point. And then it was like entering raffles, you know,
yeah.
queuing up outside shops sometimes, you know, the old school way. And yeah, that's how it started. I mean, look, the States is massive for shoes.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just unreal, you know.
yeah. Whole different ball game, man. It's funny you say that because obviously once you get into the culture, you start meeting people through it. You know, even like community groups on Facebook or Discords and stuff like that. It's a whole like set of people you interact with, like I said earlier, that you wouldn't really come by on a day-to-day basis. But then you start falling into that sort of subculture of, if you're into SB Dunks, you fall into that kind of group as well. Air Max fans, Air Max heads, Jordan's heads, but in the end, we're all in it for the same thing. Getting the, like you said, the nostalgic pieces, even like new releases as well. Do you know what I mean? That make you feel that kind of way. There's only certain shoes. It's like a car in it. When you sit in a car, you're shopping for a car, or you have that sort of goal to buy a car. It has to give you that feeling. Do you know what I mean? And I think certain shoes, there's only a certain few that give you that feeling, man. Once you get them, you're taking pictures, you're doing videos. In some cases, like me, like doing reviews and stuff. And then when you take them out, you're turning heads. Do you know what I mean? Headshots and, oh, where'd you get those? And you get little whispers in the background. And it's an amazing feeling, man. I don't think anything comes close to that. Do you know what I mean? That sort of sense of individuality when you got a pair that no one has seen before in public and stuff like that. So yeah. So
I
moving on.
suppose it's
Mm.
exclusivity as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Just the fact
definitely.
that you're not, I mean, a lot of people buy shoes. I can name like the pandas, for example. Every living person in this country will have a pair of pandas, it
Yeah,
seems.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've always been the sort of person that likes to sort of stand out from the usual crowd.
Mm,
You know, something different on feet, you know. Oh, what's
yeah,
he wearing? Well, that's a bit different. That's not the normal sort of, you know. So yeah,
yeah,
it's just it's good to be different, in my opinion.
yeah. I love a loud shoe, man. And obviously for the visual listeners, looking at your screen, there's a lot of loud colors, you know, the volts, the pinks, the purples. And is that something you kind of sort of are more drawn to, or is it just you like what you like kind of thing?
So, look, for me, I love things to stand out, whether it be
Mm,
colors, materials. Um, I'm quite, for me, it gives me an individual identity.
yeah.
Um, you know, back in the day, obviously, I used to have a lot of sort of triple blacks, all black, white, and it
Mm,
was just it went with everything, right? It was the most common sense thing to do was to buy shoes that go with everything.
yeah.
But I
Four or
suppose
five
as you
different
get
outfits.
older, you've got but as you get older, you've got different fits. You can buy different stuff, you match it up, this, that, and the other. But I just think, you know, as an example, the Futuras that
Mm,
came out
mm,
earlier this year. I mean, it's just art. It's abstract art, but it just looks
yeah.
crazy. It just looks. It's a talking point. Like you said, you see that on feet and you think, "Wow, what is that?
Mm.
You know,
Where'd you get those
where did you
from?
get those from? Who designed those?"
Yeah.
Then it becomes a talking point. Same with, um, Air Max Ones behind me, Kiss of Death.
Mm.
It's got the toe box which is see through, and I've worn that a couple of times.
With
Mind you,
socks.
you have to pair it with the right socks, but even those, you look at that and you think people look at it and think,
Yeah.
"Wow, where's the toe box?"
Yeah.
And it's just um, that ability for those shoes to create a talking point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just love having different, shoes on my feet, whether it be those or Dunks or Jordan 1s or anything.
Mm.
But obviously then we've got the classic silhouettes with classic color palettes, which are classics. So you've got to go for them.
Yeah.
Um,
Beautiful thing about just to add to your point, like beautiful thing about shoes that stand out, the volts, pinks, purples, blues, whatever. People that aren't into sneakers take an interest. Do you know what I mean? Like I've had people when I've worn certain shoes at work, they're like, "Where did you get those from?" And this geezer's about 60, almost about to retire, doesn't even know, do you know what I mean, what kind of vibe it is or whatever. But like you said, stirring conversation starters, and it's sparking that interest because they're gonna probably see it and then talk to their granddaughter, grandchild, whatever. Oh, I saw these on foot. Like, do you know what I mean? Da, da, da. And then it carries on that sort of spiral. Let's let's take it to a bit of more modern added to the collection. Obviously, we update each other notoriously on WhatsApp, latest pickups, what we're about to bid on eBay and whatever else. Let's start off with because I've got mine here as well. But let's start off with three of your latest pickups. I think we'll go 1-1-1. So I'll show you one, you show me yours. It's probably the same shoes anyway because we've got similar taste. But yeah, I'll let you start. I'll let you start.
right. So as you know, we was really hyped up about these when we first went for them. Messaged each other constantly. Are we going to go for them? Where are we going to go for them?
Mm,
And yeah, so I actually hit on this pair on sneakers. As you know, Erkin did do a review on these last week, which is Grandma's Driveway
yeah,
J4 RMs. And if you're wondering why one of the laces are different, I actually did a lace swap just to show Erkin what they look like, which is like a cool grey lace swap. But yeah, these are the
yeah.
ones.
Very
Absolutely
nice. Very nice.
fire. Absolutely. I mean, look at the way that red swoosh just pops on that. I mean, it's the most minute swoosh,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
just
yeah,
sets off the whole shoe for me because you've got all this. It's anthracite. You've got all anthracite, and then you've got that red swoosh there. It's just absolute
so
fire.
premium, so premium. Yeah,
And honestly, I have to say, I prefer these over the green ones. I said it.
yeah.
You
I'm
can
with
at
you.
me. You
I'm
can
with you.
at me, but honestly, we was talking about this the other day, kid. I mean, if they released these side by side
Mm,
on release day, anthracite and green, I honestly think the anthracites would have fared better
yeah,
than green.
yeah. Do you know? I want to ask Has because I'm pretty sure the green ones came out here, but I just can't remember because maybe I weren't too interested in the shoe or the colorway at the time. But I just can't remember it being a thing here. Like even when you look at them on eBay, most of the ones that are listed are on like US sellers and stuff like that. So I don't know, because obviously I've got them as well, of spoiler alert, but the fact that these sat in a lot of places makes me think, was this just because it was a wider release, or did they make more numbers, or people just weren't really interested because of the GR colorways came out as well? But it's mind-boggling because how nice the shoe is. It's a Jordan 4 technically, but everything from the storytelling, the box is amazing, the stickers, even the sort of nubuck, I want to say the two-tone nubuck to it. It's
Oh,
so
I
premium.
agree.
It's
I
so
agree.
premium. If this was on a, I'd say if this was on a Jordan 4, and it was a collaboration, it would have been nuts. Like maybe because it is an RM and it is the second colorway, people have sort of lost interest, or the fact that there's so many shoes coming out around the same time. It's been a heavy sort of month and a bit, I'd say. But yeah, what's your thoughts on these sitting?
Look, I think I do think they released more numbers of
Mm,
these RMs, and I think that the green ones obviously were really successful on launch. It was something different, and obviously, what drove the success of the first pair was the fact that they rebranded the name to Bike Air.
yeah,
So
yeah,
obviously, that drove a lot of interest. People were interested all of a sudden. Oh, what's going on here? This is a bit different. We've got a
yeah,
bike on the back. So even non-bikers, even non sort of riders out there were thinking, I've got to have that. That's a little
mm,
bit different. In 10 years' time, we'll look back at that and think, who bought the bike
wow,
here? You know?
yeah, yeah,
So I think that's what drove it. And obviously that was followed up by general releases. We had, I think, 3 or 4 different colorways. I did buy another GR pair, which was green and off-white, which I think was brilliant.
mhm,
Um, and I honestly think they increased the numbers on these anthracites just to keep that hype going, just to keep it
yeah.
because the first ones were so successful. They want to keep it on that pedestal for as long as they can. So
That momentum,
I'm
yeah,
absolutely, and I'm excited to see what they've got in store for the future. Any future collaborations with Nigel Sylvester's, um, on the RM4s, I think are going to be amazing. And we was talking about this the other day. I mean, imagine an Atmos colorway or another sort of colorway on these
an
RM4s
Emmerman, yeah. Oh,
or Amamanier collaboration, on these RM4s. It is going to absolutely slap. And
yeah,
I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's one of the best reimagining of a shoe in recent years. And honestly, this is one of the biggest success stories Nike have had over the last couple of years, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah. Does this, bit of a on the spot question, but does this make your top 10?
Sneakers of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, top 10, there's still a few slots for me because we've still got a long way to go. As we know,
Hmm.
there's so many releases every month. And I think I will put it into my top 10 simply because of how, this colorway is so easy to pair up. It's just
Yeah,
so easy on the eye. It's just a beautiful pair of shoes. So for
yeah,
me,
yeah.
it ticks a lot of boxes, a lot of boxes. So for me, it goes in the top 10.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. My top tens have never been the most conventional because most of the slots are Air Max sneakers. Like when I do top tens on YouTube, I'm seeing everyone's are just Jordans, Dunks, the occasional New Balance or Sauconys or whatever. But mine is just strictly 90% Air Max. But this shoe, I don't know if it's because I was able to get them so easily and it is a collab pair. Like I wasn't expecting to like these as much. Yeah, it was just one of those shoes that catch you by surprise. And I think that's one of the best feelings, though, like a shoe you're not really anticipating or that bothered about getting. Then when you get the chance, you're like, you know what? Because they're different, they're more comfy than a Jordan 4. Like you said earlier, they're like a sort of model to the classic Jordan 4, which is the most hyped Jordan at the moment. It makes you feel a type of way. And then when you can easily get them or double up or whatever it is, yeah, man, it makes you feel good. Do you know what I mean? All
I
right.
think it's
So
also
I,
I think it's also a piece of history because you've
yeah,
got I mean,
yeah,
this is the year these shoes have come out, and we've got a pair from the same year that it's come out. So it is a piece of history. And we
yeah,
can look back at this point in 5 years, 10 years and say, right, when these RM4s come out, when the Bike Airs come out, we
mm,
got that pair. It might not be the
exactly.
first pair, but we've got a pair.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like the first round of collabs, really, like the first one, because I know we've got, like we said earlier, the GRs and even the Black Cat RMs are around the corner, literally. Um, but yeah, this was the first one to do it, really. Like Nigel, and all the details, like you said, the mini swoosh, the bike air, the yeah, they're lovely, man. They are lovely. I didn't expect them to like them as much, but I think those are the ones that are sweetest. Do you know what I mean? It's less disappointment if you don't get them, but all the enjoyment when you do. So
100%.
yeah, it's lovely. All right, let's go to your second pair. What's your
Right,
second pickup?
I've got a feeling this is going to be exactly the same again. Right, so the second pair we have is none other than J3
Yes,
Ama
yes.
Maniers, and these shoes for me. Look, Erkin, when we first saw these shoes, right,
Mm,
we thought we got to go for these.
yeah,
We
yeah.
have to go for these. They just absolutely. I mean, there were 7 pairs in the pipeline, right? These along, obviously, the J4s that are coming out soon. I mean,
Mm,
these are just incredible. The
yeah,
build, the
everything.
quality, the box even. I'm not going to bring out the box right now because it weighs like 500 kilos, but um, yeah, these are amazing.
So good, man. So good. And the thing is, I was gonna go for him anyway. I mean, Amaminier, the last Jordan 3, smashed it. Resale prices, quality, popularity, everything. Um, Again, very similar story to the Nigels. They were easier to get than obviously definitely the previous Jordan 3. But I'd say Amaminier and Jordans in general, like a lot of people sat, a lot of people knocked them. Oh, but I think it's a similar vibe. Like we mentioned, so many sneakers coming out around the same time. Maybe they made more stock numbers than the previous model, the previous Jordan 3. And obviously, because it's a part of the pack, while you were sleeping, maybe it was a fact that people are waiting for the Jordan 4s and are waiting for the Air Force and the 95s. But yeah, where did you get yours? Was it sneakers directly
So,
or?
I entered a raffle with Offspring through Instagram.
That's
I
it. Yeah.
don't know if anyone's aware. If anyone follows Offspring on Instagram, they do a left door, right door thing, which is quite cool. And those that choose the right door get the chance to enter the raffle in the name of
Mm,
fairness, I suppose. Happened to pick the right door. Got the email to say I'd won, and the following week I went to a flagship store in Selfridges, King's Cross, and picked up my pair. It was
mm,
sat there waiting for me, and yeah, it was really sweet to hit these off a raffle. I know there
mm.
was loads in the end, and there have been some restocks um, quite recently, but to just hit it off a raffle, even if there were quite a few pairs of these, is just for me, it's just sweet. I
Yeah.
can look back
Yeah.
down the years and say, yeah, I hit that on a raffle.
Yeah.
But honestly, uh, very underrated. And I honestly, what you just said earlier on, the fact that they are releasing 7 different shoes, people are being a bit selective this year.
Mm,
There's so many shoes, so many sneakers to be released still.
yeah.
And obviously, with what's going on in terms of um, the way the economy is at the moment,
Yeah.
people are being a bit more selective, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it has created an opportunity for others to be able to cop pairs that they really want. And yeah, I'm sure we'll get onto the resale market very soon. But look, I'm just happy I managed to get a pair of these at retail. Um, and yeah, they're super fire. So many details on this circuit. I mean,
So good.
where do we begin? Like, down to the heel tab, the little bit on the
Yeah.
bottom there, um, down to the inside, the insole.
The
While you
suede, the
ping,
new, but even the laces with the work harder. Do you know what I mean? All the little
yeah,
detail, even the story
absolutely.
behind the whole pack, like putting in the hard work whilst others, I guess, are sleeping. That's the whole message behind the brand. Obviously, Amaminier is a clothing brand. Translates to my way, so it's very sort of individualized to whoever's into the brand, the collabs and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's I think it might be a bit of a controversial take. I don't think Amaminier can be beaten when it comes to Jordan collabs right now. In terms of their catalog in recent and modern times, they just they smash it. Even when they don't hit, they still sell out eventually. Like the Jordan ones, they weren't mad sort of people weren't mad for them, but you know, they still sold at the end of the day. Um, where would you sort of rank this out of the pack though, the recent pack, the While You Sleeping? Was this top for you or
So, I mean, we're going just by pictures at the moment because we
yeah,
haven't had any actual, any other sort of releases, official releases yet. So, just by looking at the pictures and having these in hand, I would have to say, and this is wishful thinking, I would probably rank these third
really? Okay.
because, I mean, the top one has to be the 95. For me,
Yes.
has
Yes.
to be that 95. I mean, it's a toss up between these and the J4s. I mean, this
Mm,
could be two, but it depends. I would need to see the J4 in hand and see the final release and see what it's like.
yeah,
Um, if the materials are up to scratch, the presentation, everything else, see what the details are like. So this would probably rank between 2 and 3 right now. I think I'm being a bit harsh if I say 3. Once the
interesting.
J4 releases, I think then we'll know definitively where it
Yeah.
ranks. But for
Yeah.
me, even without having the 95s in hand, just looking at that picture there, bro,
Mm.
the 95s are the ones.
Yeah, I've spoken about it previously on like live streams. So I think it was my mate Sneaker Jossie, he's another content creator, but he mentioned about the eyelets on the 95s. That's thrown some people off because a normal 95 has those sort of lace hoops, makes it a bit more sporty. But this looks definitely an Amamanier type shoe, like the premium vibe. Yes, they may crease and might be very hard to keep sort of less dirty and definitely needs a spray, protective spray. But when it comes to a 95, there's very few brands out there that are brave enough to change it up and make it their own. We've seen it with the likes of Cortez, with Clint, but yeah, this is definitely an Amamanier type shoe.
But
But
this is
lovely,
why
lovely.
I'm not too mad at the eyelets because this gives it its own identity, right? This
Yes.
makes it stand out from your usual 95. So for me, I'm not too mad at that. You know, it's meant to be premium. It's meant to be styled with stylish outfits. It's meant to be styled
Yeah.
with fits that you can wear out as a smart sort of outfit. You know,
Classy, innit? Classy, very
it's
classy.
yeah, it just shows a bit of class, a premium feel to it. So for me, the eyelets aren't really a problem. And if
Yeah.
it is a problem for you, I mean, that's just you pining for a classic 95 which has the sporty loops through it.
Mm,
I just don't think I think they made the right decision because if they went with the sporty loops, um, it would then take it into that bracket of being a bit too sport orientated, if you know what
yeah.
I mean. And that's
Yeah.
not what Amawani is about. They're
Yeah.
about class and style and substance. And I think they made the
Yeah.
right decision here.
No, spot on, spot on. I think the fact that we're speaking about those little details and what makes it so different, it already makes it, very desirable and unique as well. Because if we just thought, oh yeah, if we didn't notice things like that, like the minute details that they change on shoes, whether it is, the 95s here or the Jordan 3s that we picked up or the previous releases, it would just be, you know, a flyby collaboration that no one really cares about, But
Yeah.
it's those little details where I think 9 times out of 10, those like Amamini and Jordan, and even Nike, obviously on this occasion, just smash it, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And you know, if I want to dress sporty, I'll put on any other pair of 95s.
Yeah,
I'll be really casual with it. But these, I feel like I can put on a nice pair of jeans, really smart shirt or whatever, and you'll just look really smart and clean.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think it's 100% the right decision. Look, these guys know what they're doing. They've had so many collaborations, and they very rarely get it wrong. We always
yeah.
talk about Amamanier and how good they are, how premium the quality is, and yeah, definitely number one for me though.
No, I agree. I agree. For me, it's definitely the 95 top spot. And then I put the Jordan 3. I'm a Jordan 4 guy. Like that was my first Jordan when I was like 14. Um, but I think because I've got the previous Jordan 4, I just think one, they're more wearable. Two, they're more my cup of tea in terms of colorways. And we live in the UK, bro. Like, I don't even need to tell you about the weather. Like, trying to wear, I think it's called the Fossil Stone. I think trying to wear this Jordan 4 is just going to be a nightmare. Do you know what I mean? You could probably just wear them in the house and that's it. But yeah, that's what puts me off the shoe. But it's an amazing sort of look and design and everything. It's just I'm trying to wear my shoes at the moment, and I just don't think this colorway would let me
I mean,
enjoy
here's a little known fact: sneakerheads use the weather app more than anyone else.
them. Exactly.
It's a fact, bro. Come
Exactly.
on.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. So your third and final pickup, your latest pickup. If it's I don't think it's the same. I purposely picked one that I know you didn't pick
Yeah,
up.
no,
So
we've gone different this time, and we had to
yeah.
for the third one. But yeah, we had plenty of this the other day. We had some Thunder the other day, and of course, it is
Mm,
Jordan 4 White Thunders.
nice. Nice.
So these I managed to get exclusive access from the sneakers app when they dropped, or before they dropped, shall I say? And you know what? I just couldn't resist a classic sort of
Yeah.
colorway which they retroed, and I think these are fantastic. Honestly, the suede on this is just it's not look, a lot of people complained when they got their shoes that there was little scuff marks and everything else with
Mm,
it. Quick brush and it's good as gold, you know.
yeah. Yeah.
For me, these are sort of perfect shoes for throwing on with anything. It goes with everything. It's black and white.
Yeah.
There's no, two ways about it. Yeah, so for me, these was a must cop. I know a lot of people, desire to have the Nike Air on the back.
Mm,
However, I'm not too mad that they've got a Jordan sign on the back. It's not a big issue for me. Um, and I think also the netting on this, the mesh underneath,
yeah.
it just feels different as well. It's more smooth. It's just overall, all round an all round
Mhm.
winner. I think.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Very popular.
these are my third
Very popular.
pickup.
Would you rate those out of the previous funders, you know, the yellow funders and the red funders? Are these like top of that, or how would you rank those?
I would. I mean, I'm a sucker for yellow. I mean, look behind me. I mean, I've got so many different colors. Um,
Yeah.
yellow, red. I honestly, I'm not just saying because I have these. I just feel like these are on top of those two,
Yeah.
simply
Yeah.
because I can just throw them on with anything else.
You can't
Right.
go wrong in it. You
You
can't.
have
You
to
can't.
consider a lot of things when you're putting on the red funders, the yellow funders. You can't just fling them on with anything. It's
Yeah.
not going to look good. So for me, these look great. You can throw them on with anything, and I just think overall, as an overall
Mm.
shoe, I think it comes out on top. Now, if we're going aesthetically, I would always say red and black for me is just a classic combo, man.
Mm.
For me, those red funders just pop. I've got a few little cousins who have them, and every time they got them on, it's just like, bro, those are juicy. They're so nice, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and the yellow funders for me, they're okay, man. Look, they're okay, but
Mm.
for me, I just right now, so many youngsters have yellow funders. It just
Yeah.
feels weird, like it just feels too casual for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, I'd have these over
Mm.
those two overall. But
Okay.
aesthetically, the other two are really nice on the eye. Let's say.
Yeah. 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 I know what you mean. I think it's one of those unfortunate things, I guess, for those the white funders that there was so much coming out at the time. I couldn't like as much as I wanted to look at them and potentially get them in for a review or my personal collection. I was like, right, it's either these or those, and sometimes you have to pick your battles. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. So
I
free
mean, I
fire.
actually thought you would have the white funders in your collection simply because
Yeah.
I know you love a silhouette which has darker colors, black, white. So I thought it would be right up your street. So you did sort of surprise
Yeah.
me, but I
Yeah.
can see your third pickup there, which also surprised me.
Do you know what? It surprised me as well because I was not trying to keep them or have them longer than I thought I would. But I think it's the fact that we got them early compared to US. And for obviously reference, it is the Jordan 1 Low Mocha. Um, Obviously, we all know the hype behind the highs and what that did for the culture at the time. Not being an OG colorway, not being a Travis Scott, but technically it looks like a Travis Scott without all the bells and whistles. But yeah, I was surprised by the lows actually. Once the lace swap happened, obviously I took a leaf out of Hass's book, which we'll talk about in a bit anyway. You're notorious for the
My
lace
guy.
swaps. um, but yeah, it kind of made me feel different to the Jordan 1 low because I've said this time and time again how much I don't like a low when it comes to Jordan 1s. But when it comes to this colorway, there's just something it did for me. I think it's more wearable than your conventional colorway, whether it is the OG cut or non-OG cut to a 1 low. It's just the mocha for me, whether it is the drink itself or the colorway, absolutely love it, man. Absolutely love it.
Yeah,
It's just, yeah.
what they've done with, I mean, as you can see there, the heel tab is incredible. And when you look at it from the back there, you almost think it's a Travis Scott, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, some are calling it the Travis Knot because it's not. But yeah, I just think it's a clean colorway. It's pleasing
Mm,
on the eye, and I think a lot of people are going to wear this in the fall
yeah.
with many different fits, and it just absolutely slaps with certain sort of trousers. But yeah, for me, it's really clean, and it really surprised me as well. I haven't got a pair,
Mm,
but obviously widely available. It's there if you want a pair.
yeah. Even
Um,
now.
because even when it first came out, we was sort of worried: is it going to sell out? This, that, and the other, and really, everyone's been able to cop it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's not a good thing to be honest with you. If you want to sort of go back to a pair which you don't necessarily want to buy this month, you can go back next month
Mm.
and put in for it. So it's such a great time at the moment for anyone who's looking to collect shoes. Honestly,
Yeah, 100%. That leads me on nicely to the next segment. Obviously you've been collecting for some time. You've been involved in the culture for some time, and obviously judging by your collection behind you, quite heavily. Where do you see that? Where's the sneaker culture at the moment? Is it sort of the best time to get involved in collecting? Obviously, we know it's not the best time to resell, but how do you see it going from here? Do you think it's going to pick up as well, or is it a fact of this might just be where it's going to stay for now?
I think with the way things are going at the moment, there has been obviously issues with resale, people reselling shoes. Obviously, we know bots were a massive issue over the last few years, trying to pick up shoes. I just think it's a great time at the moment. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a great time if you want to collect shoes, just good pair of shoes that you really want to wear. It's great to be able to just pick up, like, go to a shop even and pick up a pair, or go
Yeah,
online and pick up a pair in your size. At the moment, I think we're always going to get hype shoes no matter what happens, no matter what state the market is in. We are going to get hype shoes simply because, either it's a classic, a retro version, or whatever. People will go back and think, you know what, I need to have those. But
mm,
um, I think there has been a shift in the market, and that's mainly, in my opinion, due to the fact that other companies have started to sort of have a bigger slice of the pie, um,
mm,
than Nike as well. So, you've got your likes of Asics, your New Balances, even Saucony's, all
yeah,
these other brands coming in and taking a share of the pie. So, um, it's not just the alpha in the game, which is Nike or even Adidas or Reebok to some extent. It's the other, it's the
yeah,
other cats that have come into the game now. And people are moving over to other brands. So yeah, look, every company's trying hard to compete. At the moment, we've got New Balances out there that were recently released. going for £1,500 a pop. You
Yeah,
know, as
yeah.
such is the popularity at the moment. So, you know, we're seeing more releases, more shoes being released. Um, so there's a battle out there which is at the moment benefiting anyone who wants to actually start collecting, who wants to buy shoes. There's been a lot of work done around bots and stuff. So yeah, it's a great time at the moment. But
Yeah.
as we know, it's all swings and roundabouts, and it will go full circle again, and we'll get to a point where one dominates, and then we're back
Mm.
in that sort of circle again. So
Yeah, yeah. R.I.P. to James L. Jones, but it's the circle of life, as Mufasa once said.
yeah,
Shout out to him.
absolutely. R.I.P. James Earl Jones.
Yeah,
Honestly, wow.
legend, legend. No, it's definitely true, man. You got it spot on. Whether it is different brands having a bit of the pie, or certain shoes just starting to sit now, where maybe a year, 6 months ago, they would have sold out before they even released, kind of thing. Um, I think as well, we're kind of recovering still as a whole whole nation, humanity, whatever. Like economically, like people have more or less money to spend on sort of lavish stuff, and obviously bills, everything, just everyday life. Whereas opposed to around COVID times, that's all we wanted to spend money on. Do you know what I mean? Whether it was reselling or collecting for your own personal collection. With shoes, a lot of us were on furlough, and nothing else to spend our money on. You couldn't travel, couldn't go out. I mean, going Asda was a luxury at one point. Just walking to the shops. Do you know what I mean? So, what else were we going to spend our money on? It was like sneakers, it was clothing, that sort of thing. But no, you definitely got it spot on. I think even though the hype stuff will still sell out, your Travis Scotts, the other collaborations here and there. I think if people aren't really like a must have, like certain shoes we're going to touch on in a bit anyway, it's kind of a thing where even if you miss out, you can maybe wait a few months, a year down the line and get them for near enough retail now. And it's an amazing time for a collector. Resellers have had to actually get another job or a proper job. And it's no disrespect, obviously, we've all done it. But I mean, you can't rely on extortionate prices anymore to make a living and rip off the average consumer and collector, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And it wasn't sustainable, you know, and it's
Mm.
showing now. I mean, with all due respect to other content creators out there as well who have been in that game, but even they mention it on their channels as well. Look, I can't, you know, the way the current market is, you know, I can't sustain this, I can't sustain that. So it's showing, you know, out there as well. If you go on like loads of other videos, um, you know, they talk about the same thing as well. So, like I said, it's a full circle thing. Once the economy sort of finds its feet again and people can afford certain things, I think that sort of market will come back around again. But
Yeah.
for the time being, I think if you want to collect, even if you want to, it's crazy actually. If you want to double up on things, you've got the opportunity to do so. You know, I know
Yeah.
a few people out there who are like, I'm going to double up on these because in the next 5 years, I can sell one of these for
Mm.
whatever. So you can see people are already planning ahead.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just at the moment, it's just not happening. And yeah, it's been a great year to be honest, in terms of just being able to buy what you want. I believe we
Yeah.
spoke about having a list, didn't we, a few nights ago? And I mentioned the fact that I made a list in January of particular shoes I wanted, and I hit on every single one,
Mm.
bar one, which was the Nina Chanel J3s. Um,
Okay.
but to have hit on everything I wanted, that certainly wouldn't have been the case 2 years ago or even last year to
Yeah.
some extent.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think for me personally, it was like a very slow year. Started to heat up around February, I think. Obviously with the bread reimagines. And then we had like Air Max Day with the DNs, the Royal Volts, Air Max ones. Military Blues soon followed. And then it kind of just gradually started heating up. Everyone was talking around January, maybe early February. Wow, is like there's nothing happening at all. There's no like releases coming out where I want, where I really want to go for them and stuff like that. Um, but you mentioned the Nina Chanel's, the Jordan 3s, but is that the only one that stands out to you that you've missed out on this year, or has there been another one? I know we're not done yet with the year, but so far.
In terms of ones that I really wanted, no. I mean, when I first saw the Nina Chanel's,
Mm.
it just stood out, something different. Again, like with that heel tab being different,
Yeah.
just that alone sort of said to me, do you know what? I've got to have that. There wasn't really any other shoes which really stood out and screamed at me, like as in say, I've got to get it. But
Mm.
I pretty much, yeah, I think I hit on everything I wanted. Obviously, last year, the one that I was actually really gutted to miss out on was the Utos, the Horigamis, which is
Oh yeah.
SB Dunk Low. But they are releasing a asparagus colorway in February, so hopefully the market stays the same. But yeah, look, we've
Yeah.
got the Nina Chanel's here. Obviously, quite a change up to the heel tab. It's almost like grass growing out the back. Even
Mm.
that little orange label sticking out just gives it a whole different vibe. That
So
green,
good.
orange, and off white is just a classic combination for me. You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
So I think Nina Chanel's previous collaboration was on a J2 prior to
Yep.
this. So it's a big step up. And I think she's done really well with these. Honestly, I think
Yeah.
they look great. But again, I'm not too despondent that I didn't get them. I think I will revisit to actually pick a pair up. If I
Mm.
can find a pair somewhere in the region of 200, I think that's a fair price. Um, so yeah, birthday's around the corner, so I'll have a chat with the
Couple
missus.
requests.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's always a good request.
Yeah. I think for me, I didn't even really want these. Like the one that stands out for me, or the two that I kind of missed out on, and wanted to get to some extent, was the Air Max Sunders, the orange one, the one that just retroed, the first one that retroed recently,
Classic.
and the Air Max 180. Yeah, the first one is it's one of them things. It's like you want them, you anticipate it, you don't get them, and then you're just there like, you know what? We'll keep it moving until it's time to look back again, and then maybe. But I'm glad they've sort of been giving us more releases with the 180 anyway. The Dusty Cactus, I think they're called,
Oh,
which were pretty cool.
yeah,
Yeah. So
and
I'm
then
glad the 180's made a comeback.
ultramarines as well.
Ultramarines, the first ones, yeah,
So
yeah. So yeah, it's one of them shoes though. It's very much loved, but it's more of like a niche in a niche. Like not every Air Max fan likes a 180, but if you do like a 180, you swear by it. And obviously they changed the air unit with it as well to a big bubble, so that made it a bit different with this retro. But yeah, it's
I
one
mean,
of them things, man.
the way I see it is, it's a big part of it's a piece of history, really.
Yeah.
It's a massive part of sneaker culture. It's a classic that's been retroed, and it played a big part in sneaker culture.
Mm.
It was something that every sort of sneakerhead was synonymous with.
Yeah.
180, and when the 180 released again, it was like, wow, I remember this from when, it was just so I think it's a massive part of history as well. It has a lot of weight to it.
Mm.
It's not a silhouette that's very common at the moment because we've been saturated with your common, I don't want to say common, but we've been saturated with your 95s, 97s, Air Max 1s,
Yeah.
and the 180s have somewhat sort of shoes like these have sort of just stayed, been pushed to one side.
Mm.
And I think that's what also makes it more, um, how can I say, it makes it more desirable because
Yeah.
it's amongst all these heavy hitters, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
No, it's true. It's true. Speaking of a heavy hitter, the um the elephant in the room. This is being recorded on a Thursday night. Tomorrow is Friday, or should I say, Chlorophyll Day, which is obviously the retro 20th anniversary to the Air Max One Chlorophylls. Gonna try my hardest to get this episode out before Friday. So yeah, it will make more sense. But the Air Max One Chlorophyll Patta, we've got a countdown on the screen if you're watching. It says 15 hours left, 47 minutes, and now 15 seconds. It's a nervy time for me and Hass, big Air Max One Patta fans, or Patta fans in general. I think it's my favorite brand as
uh,
in terms of
What a
clothing
brand.
brands.
What a brand.
Um, yeah, it's how you feeling, bro? Because I know how I'm feeling, but I'll let you take the stage first.
Bro, look, you're like me. I'm checking this like every other hour, and I'm just wondering how I'm going to get a hold of this pair because I mean, we was talking about this the other day. They're not being released on sneakers, obviously. So directly from Patta. We both know the website is going to be clogged tomorrow. There's going to be so many going for these tomorrow, and I'm just hoping we can hit. But it's a very, very nervous wait at the moment, and I don't know.
Yeah,
Genuinely, I don't know what's going to happen. And as I always do with big releases like this, I've got a little sort of wad stashed somewhere as an emergency sort of resale fee. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah,
I think it's going to be a really difficult cop, if I'm being honest with you. The numbers, I'm not too sure what the numbers are like, but I can't see it being too high because they're not being released through other outlets. So
yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, I'm nervous on this one, bro. I mean, what are you saying?
Yeah, totally the same, man. It's crazy to think that no other retailer, as far as I know, has them or is going to be participating in them. It does give me a bit more confidence though. I'm on the other end where our Pat are sort of that confident that they've done enough numbers to give them to people who really want them, or I know it's a grail shoe like the retros, the 2002 2004s. That goes for like thousands at this point, but this is like, well, Pat collaborations in general. It's like the Air Max fan sort of necessity. Do you know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
chlorophylls, that's one of my grails. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't old enough to be paying for shoes at that point. I think I'm optimistic, stupidly, but at the same time, I know how bad it can get. To be fair, I think we spoke about this off camera even yesterday, prepping for this podcast. But I've had sort of good luck with Patta in terms of the Monarchs, the waves. When that first dropped, I was on their website, just trying my luck, thinking, wow, this is different. This is an Air Max One. This is when the Air Max One was first making a comeback, a couple years ago. And yeah, I hit, which was mad. And another good thing about this release is there's no import fees. Patter have come out and said that everyone from the UK is going to be distributed from the UK or in a way where there's no import fees and stuff like that. But I really like this rollout. I think as you said earlier, the fact that they've not given it to sneakers or any other retailer kind of says it all, in a sense of adding to the exclusivity, the hype, the buzz. Yeah, it's one of them things, man. In terms of resale, bro, do you have a do you have a guess or a number in mind where you're kind of thinking where these are going to sit if, God forbid, we have to go that route? What would you think?
So, oh yeah, obviously we spoke about this the other day. I predicted somewhere around 320, but it could be 320 to 350.
Yeah,
Um, but again, it depends on numbers. I mean, if they're like, for instance, we had the AirTech Challenge come out last week. They only released 500 apparently, or less than. So
yeah,
if we're talking about those numbers, we could be looking up to 400, in my
mm,
opinion. But if there is a wider release in terms of numbers, I can see it being around 320 to 350.
yeah.
And eventually, if it did sit at three, that's what we'd be looking at. I would imagine.
Yeah, I think we spoke of obviously off camera as well, sort of mentally preparing what shoes we're going to be selling in order to have to pay resale if, like I said, God forbid, we have to. But I think in terms of this year, when it comes to Air Max, it's got to be done, man. Everything like the details with the only thing I would say actually going back is it does look like a shade lighter than
It
the
does, yeah.
previous
It's been
previous
confirmed.
retro, but because it's the 20th anniversary since the first one, um, it makes it that bit more sweet. Like the box, obviously the clothing that they're releasing with it as well, the socks, the t-shirts, everything else. I can't lie, man. Out of every single brand, Amamania is a close second, I'd say. But Patta for me, yeah, I'm a sucker for Patta, man. I can't lie. I think
I
you're the
mean,
same as well, bro, innit?
I'm 100% the same. Anything with Patta, I absolutely love. And as you know, I'm a massive fan of Para as well. I mean, those two are equal for me. I love anything by Para, collaborations, clothing. I've got the Para SB Dunks, and definitely want to add the Air Max ones to that as well. But they're sort of sub 500 at the moment. Um, but these brands, they hold their value. They really do. I mean, even in the current climate, it hasn't really fluctuated that much. But
Yeah.
definitely a massive fan of Patta, Para. Both of those brands are just humongous for me.
Yeah, yeah. I think with Air Max ones, I know the past the sort of collaboration I had recently with the Air Max ones, the second wave, the dark russets, the rush maroons, they didn't do as well. But I feel like I don't know why. I think I like them more because of it. Obviously I had the Monarchs, loved them, didn't actually wear them in the end. I just obviously I was making I was making room, so I had to get rid of them. But I don't regret it because I did get the Rush Maroons for dirt cheap and the Dark Russets for like under retail and the aftermarket. But it's still Patta. Do you know what I mean? I think they can't go wrong on an Air Max One and Patta collaboration, like both on both sides. Whether it is for the collectors or for the brands that are collaborating in general. So, how optimistic I want to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10
Of
for
of of,
tomorrow.
of getting the shoes tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, on him.
Honestly, I'm at a 5 at the moment because I honestly
Oh,
don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's in store for me. I mean,
yeah,
we've tried everything, as you know. We've joined up with 2 different accounts and everything. We're just going all out for this tomorrow.
yeah,
But look, I would say 5, 6, maybe even a 7 because of the way the current climate, in the sneaker world is at the moment.
mm,
We might have a chance. And also, let's not forget, eh, as much as this is only limited to Patta's website, it's not sort of available to the wider sort of market or the wider general public, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
'Cause there's a lot of people that have the sneakers app, they'll have notifications and things like that. Whereas this is if you know, then you know, sort of thing. If you're a
yeah,
sneakerhead, you'll know. So that could be another good thing that works in our favor. Um, and also, I have to say this, but there's other releases that people are waiting for as well. There's
yeah,
2 massive releases coming next week. I believe we're getting the J4 Ammo Maniers, and we're
yeah,
also getting the Visti and Nike SB Dunk Lows, which is potentially going to be the SB Dunk of the year. So,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah, with those around the corner, I think we may hold a good chance of actually hitting. So,
yeah, yeah. I think for me, out of 10, I'd put myself at about 6, 7. Um, it's only because it gets me a bit worried. Like people who aren't an Air Max fan per se, they're talking about these. Like, the conventional YouTuber that just focus on Jordans, even influencers and whatever else. I'm seeing them put up on their stories, and I'm like, please just leave it to us kind of thing. But nah, I'm not trying to gatekeep or whatever, but it does make it that bittersweet of if you miss out, it's because of these lot. But at the same time, and obviously resellers and whatever else. But if you get them, you're laughing. Do you know what I mean? You've done your bit for the day. You can enjoy the rest of your day. Like nothing can hurt you. Um, yeah. Other than these though, I want to ask you like, and obviously the shoes you mentioned, what stands out to you that's coming out next that you're looking forward to the most? What would you say?
yeah, so I just mentioned there's a big release coming out next week. Obviously, we know the J4 is coming out, I'm a Manier, but for me, the one that has stood out over the last few months, or even at the turn of the year, when I first saw the pictures pop up, was the Visti Verdi SB Dunks. I don't know if we can get that on screen, but I'll get it on screen now for you. Um,
Yeah.
these um,
Yeah, I got it.
these
Yeah.
have been the ones that I've been looking forward to the most, I think, in terms of
Yeah.
SB Dunks. Um,
It's giving me Sean Wotherspoon vibes with Monsters Inc. Sully from Monsters Inc. You
so
sort of
yeah, if
blend
you
them
could
two.
share this. Um, yeah, so these for me, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but
Yeah.
it's giving me the sort of ungrateful dead vibes. where they
Mm,
obviously released, I think it was 2 or 3 different colorways: orange, yellow, green. These for me are just,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just out there. It's out there, and like I said, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but there's going to be a lot of people after these just purely for resale value,
Hmm.
because people will want to own a pair of these.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, these are the ones I've been waiting for.
Okay.
As you know, I'm a massive SB Dunk fan,
Yeah.
and these are it for me.
Yeah. They're a bit of you as well. Like they're sort of pastel colors, but at the same time they're loud. Do you know what I mean? And I think they're executed really well, judging by the pictures and stuff like that. The details, like the insole, the fact that you can sort of shave that off, the sort of, you know, the other panels to trim it down, that kind of thing, adds the sort of personalization to it. Yeah, it's one of those shoes. It's like you said earlier, it's a conversation starter. Like if you wore these at an event, whether it was a sneaker convention or just going out for dinner with the missus and whatever, you know all eyes are going to be on your feet.
Yeah, I mean, look, and also, these scream like early 90s for me,
Mm,
late 90s, like all through the 90s, my childhood. This is what it screams. And
yeah,
for me, it has to be, it will be on my feet basically. There's
yeah,
none of this,
yeah,
it's gonna go up and stay there for 10 years.
yeah.
I just want to wear these shoes, get some convos going. Um, you know, and if you look at it, like you said, they look like they're very well executed.
Mm,
It's just something so different that you don't usually see. Um, and yeah, I think there's 2 or 3 different lace options with them as well. Obviously, as you know, I'm a massive fan of lace swapping. So
yeah,
yeah, these are going to be a really hard cop. By the way, they're going to be very hard to cop
yeah. They
because
look it.
yeah, I mean, if we go on to those that have the Heat Movement app, you'll see there's a red bar for supply and demand. Obviously, demand is going to be really high on these. So
Mm,
yeah,
yeah. So I think you you sort of brought me on to my next segment anyway. The lace swap. Has this always been a thing for you, or is it just one of them things that's kind of developed into what it is? Because I know you like a bit of a um like you said alluded to earlier, the how do you say the individual style, even to loud shoes, you want to make it still your own, that kind of thing.
yeah. For me, it's something that I never really got into when I was younger. If you know what I mean, I just wore shoes,
Yeah.
um, and then that was it. But since I've started, you know, collecting, buying shoes, having my own sense of style, I just thought, let's step it up a notch. I want to really make these shoes my own. I want to really
Mm,
give it my own um, imprint, if you know what I mean. So I started messing around with laces. And as you know, when you buy shoes, you get loads of different lace options.
yeah.
So here we
Yeah.
are today. I've got 2 drawers full of laces. So not an issue for me. Every time I get a new pair, I've got literally 200 to 300 different pairs of laces that I can choose from. So I'll give you an example if you want. I mean, I've got the industrial blues here, the military blues, sorry,
Mm, okay.
J4s.
Nice.
Obviously, massive fan of SB Dunks. And if you can see here, if we can,
Yep.
is the camera going to focus? There we go, a bit slow. So I've just put blue SB laces on these militaries, and I just think it gives it its own unique look. Um,
Yeah.
for me, I think it just gives it its own identity, sticks out from the rest, and yeah, this is the
No,
sort of stuff I do. But I do use a lot of SB laces um, for my shoes. Yeah,
okay.
just
I can
on
see
these. If
that.
I was designing these, right, I would have put orange, um, a little orange label on there as well. Would have absolutely slapped on these with the blue.
Yeah. Yeah. I know
Honestly,
what you mean.
like this.
Even with the tag there beside it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see this? If you had the little label like stitched on just right there or anywhere else, it would absolutely, I mean, right there would have been great. it would
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
slap. Just little details like that.
No, I agree, man. I still haven't even worn mine yet. The military fours, even the bread fours. I think there's so many shoes. I just wanted them and needed them in the collection. But yeah, I think you're a bit like me. You kind of wait for the hype to sort of die down a bit, and then you bring them out. Obviously, once you've taken your pictures and videos and stuff like that. But no, I totally get it, man. The lace swap thing. For me, if I weren't as lazy, I mean, I'd probably do the same thing. But I think it's once you kind of get a good place to get laces from as well. Um, Obviously you buy them and stuff like that. It gives you that extra motivation in it to put them in shoes. You wouldn't really see those sort of lace swaps in like the military fours. Everyone's going to have either cream or white in them.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned this actually, because this is the other point I was going to make. So I've lace swapped non-hype shoes, right?
Mm.
And people have been like, "What are those?"
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, "They're just these shoes, you know, like simple pair of Dunk Lows, not even SBs." And
mm.
I've put SB laces, different color,
Yeah,
and people are like, "What are those?" That's how much a lace changes up. A different lace changes up a shoe.
yeah, 100%.
I mean, I could give you examples and stuff, but I've got too many to choose from. But one that you're aware of is my orange Huffs Air Max ones.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
I had the orange SB laces in those,
yeah,
and everyone's like, "Wow, like that should have been what was in the box," you know.
yeah,
So this
exactly.
is this is how much laces play a big part in change the whole aesthetic of the shoe. So that's the other side of it as well. Making an ordinary shoe that's non-hype, making it look like it's something different.
Yeah,
Something
into
that
your own.
"Oh, is that a hype shoe? What is that? Where did you get that from?" You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and that's the whole fun of it. It's brilliant. Honestly, it's
yeah.
brilliant. We'll
You
do
know
another
what?
show one day where actually we can do a show where I'll go through some of my lace swaps. I'll get a few out
Mm.
and we can show everyone. But that'll be a nice
Yeah,
little thing that we can do.
that'd be cool, man. It gives people a bit more different sort of ideas as well what to do with certain shoes because especially with hype shoes, going back to that, like when you do a lace swap, it changes the look of it, and then it makes it more unique. And even if it is a normal GR or a non-hype shoe, it makes it look like it's a hype shoe. So it's kind of on both ends, it's a bonus. Um, I want to I want to go back to the Huffs. Yeah, we share a story about those, especially when they first dropped. I've notoriously told this story on the channel about I actually mentioned you in the video or the stream, I think it was, where you messaged me saying they dropped on the official Huff website. Obviously we were both buzzing. I was shaking, holding my phone, like, oh my god, do I do it? We're messing each other. Are you doing it? I'll F it, we'll do it. What I mean? Let's go for it. Even though we knew the import fees or delivery fees were going to be crazy, I ended up going for the green. You went for the orange. I'm a bit annoyed because we both thought they were going to be more limited, than they were. Obviously, they sat in most places. Restocks happening even now. Got an email from Offspring saying that. But yeah, I was gutted because I wanted them in early, but the UK release ended up coming before that release. The official Huff website's release for me. I don't regret it because it's one of them things. You take a chance. If you miss out, you're still going to regret it. But at least we got them. You went for the orange and you got the green as well, the pear green.
Yeah, so in the release that dropped in the States, I went for the orange ones
Yeah.
and not the green ones. Simply because when I looked online, it actually said orange was going to be exclusive to the States. Green's going to
That's right.
be widely available in the UK. So I thought, you know what? I'll try and go for the more limited ones, and then I'll get the green ones when they drop in the UK. So luckily, managed to get my size from Huff International. They were shipped all the way from LA. I think we waited about a week and a half, didn't we?
Yeah.
um, but I remember that night, Erkin, that night, it wasn't even midnight yet. And it was like, right, bro, it's gonna drop. This is the time it's dropping. I think it was like midnight or something. It was gonna drop.
Yeah.
Are you going for it? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go for it as well. Sod it. You know, we'll pay the import tax, this, that, and the other. And I think you mentioned something about getting them in hand before they dropped in the UK, so you can,
Yeah.
create some content and stuff. So I remember that night we both went online. You're like, right, I did it, I got it. I'm like, yes, managed to get the orange ones. Blah blah blah, and then it was like a little waiting game, so to speak. We were both messaging back and forth. Have you got any notification from DHL?
Yeah.
It was like a nervous wait and stuff. And yeah, eventually we got them in hand. I think your one took slightly longer, if I'm not mistaken. I think you was
Yeah.
going through the whole move and stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I'm in the end, I was glad I managed to get the orange pair because obviously they were more exclusive. They didn't release them in the UK, I believe. Same way with the pink ones, were
Yeah.
only Japan exclusive, and then the green ones, as we know, there's offers at the moment. I think you can get it for about £105 now. Uh,
Crazy. Crazy.
yeah, but tell us. I want you to tell us the funny story behind it because you wanted to have it on your show before it was released, and what happened, what transpired was total opposite. So
Yeah.
yeah, you fire
Well,
away, bro.
you said a lot of the story, but I mean, we obviously saw it on the Huff website. Not many people knew. And if you were from the UK or whatever, you didn't really care because you were just like, "Do you know what, I'm just gonna wait. Do you know what I mean? I'll wait for the UK drop, whatever." So, but we were just like, nah, let's not take the chance. The green pair, because I'm more into Volt as opposed to the other colors. The orange, I do regret not going just because not going for just because obviously how easy the pair was to get in the UK. But yeah, we paid over the odds. I think what was it, around 230? I think it was 250, something like
I
that.
think it was 233 altogether. So with the
Yeah,
import taxes, with delivery, everything else,
yeah,
um, yeah, I paid 233. But I mean, look, I'm glad I paid that for my pair
mm,
because at the moment, that's probably what you'd pay near enough the 200 mark at the moment to import from the States. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. Especially because you got the orange, I wouldn't have minded. But you know what? It's one of those things where you do risk it, even as a content creator. And if any are watching this channel, you know, if you're trying to get a pair in early, you take the risk of buying off a, I don't know, aftermarket platform, StockX, eBay, whatever. And most of the times, people list them up before they even get them in hand. So they're waiting to get their dubs on a raffle or whatever, and then they're willing to ship it. So there's always a risk. So when you're getting it directly from the retailer Huff, it's just one of them things. But I think I got them even more later than I think you. I think I can't remember what it was. Was it a delay in mine, or I think I had to re-deliver it or something like that? I can't remember
I
because I
mean,
was
put it
moving at
this
the
way,
time.
I think you got yours after the UK drop occurred, and that was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
irony of it all,
yeah.
I think.
That's what killed me because I was like, the worst thing is I got a 9 off Huff, and then I tried to go for an 8.5 off somewhere else, and the 8.5 ended up coming before the 9. So I was fuming. I was fuming. But the thing is, it's one of those things like you take L's on things like this, but you end up getting the Nigel Sylvesters and the Amaminiers for retail. And you know,
Yeah.
it's like you said, swings and roundabouts, man. You got to kind of take the L's with the dubs and vice versa. Otherwise, there's no thrill to the chase. Do you know what I mean? There's
These
no
are the
like,
cool stories that come out from, this is part of the culture, isn't it? I mean, you've got all
yeah,
these cool stories and stuff to tell, and
yeah,
it
yeah.
happens. We've all been there at the end of the day. We've all made mistakes, and it's all part of being in that culture.
That's
Um,
it.
but yeah, man, it was a crazy one. That one. I mean, we wanted it so bad. I remember the hype around it actually. Watching all the videos on Instagram, and they've done this whole thing with Bones the dog.
Yeah,
Guess where Bones is? This, that, and the other, and it was just all hype, hype, hype.
mm,
Similarly, what Patta's doing at the moment as well. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
that's the storytelling, isn't it? Like that sells a lot of collaborations and shoes. Obviously, like the chlorophylls, this is a retro, and a lot of these colors you couldn't get because there were samples or friends and family only or whatever it was. So if you're an Air Max fan, these sort of shoes definitely make you more excited about them compared to a Jordan, like your conventional Jordan 4 or whatever release it is. But the Jordan fans or hype fans, they're aware, but they don't get the same buzz as an Air Max fan would. Do you know what I mean? So it's all part of the game, man. Like you
I think
said, but
this is why, going back to the patterns, I think this is why we may stand a chance of
mm,
actually hitting, because the way the market is geared up at the moment, it's all Jordans, like you said, Jordans, Dunks, this, that, and the other. And it's very much a case of those who know and those who want
yeah,
will come prepare. I mean, look what happened with the Huffs. I mean, the green colorway, they're all sitting at the moment because not many people are really aware, or maybe not even interested in the fact that they were retroed. And that for me, they signify a classic pair of shoes, you know. So the same thing I think might happen with Patta. Um, those who simply see it as another pair of Air Maxes, you know,
mm,
albeit it is a collaboration. But I think these ones we might stand a chance. So we'll see.
yeah, yeah. Do you know what? The more I speak to you, bro, the more optimistic I get. But I know I'm just thinking about tomorrow. I'm planning on streaming, but I just remembered I've got an appointment with the missus tomorrow. Doctor's appointment. So I'm like, it's at 11:20, and I think the UK drop is at 12. So I'm just praying this appointment is just hi bye and that's it. But yeah, it's gonna have the whole sort of Air Max scene or sneaker culture fans, whatever you want to call them. It's just gonna be on the lunch break, staring at your phone, refresh, or whatever, like just trying to wait out in the queue or whatever system they're gonna have. Um, it's exciting, man. And there's not many releases out there that get you this excited and hyped. And the fact that it's midday for us, it's different compared to an 8 a.m. sort of scratch and sniff on the on the sneakers website where you got to wait in a queue or whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're all going to be in the middle of doing something tomorrow. Your case, obviously, you've got an appointment. Me, I'll be in a busy deli restaurant. You know, hopefully, won't be too busy. So we're all going to be in the middle of doing something, and that's what the interesting thing is, because with the 8 a.m. drops, it's usually like there's not much going on. You know, you got all the time in the world. You can just log on, try and hit. But it's going to be more of a challenge tomorrow. You know, simply
Yeah.
trying to sort of get in there amongst doing other stuff. So, but
Yeah.
I'm keep it. I'm really optimistic. I think I'm really optimistic tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's just hope the hardest thing is just finding the time to get on the app or the website to buy them, let alone fighting off these bots. But to be fair, I think Pat since I can remember, like the Monarchs, when it came to bots and stuff like that, actually did pretty well, the website. And that was like peak of, botters, resellers. What was it, 2020, 2021? So if it was that bad then, we might actually be okay tomorrow. I'm hoping anyway. It's obviously my optimistic side, just thinking ahead, but yeah,
We just need to
it's
get in there
crazy, man.
early doors tomorrow. Get on the website
Yeah.
nice and early. Have that nice fresh brew of coffee.
Mm,
Keep a clear mind, and just imagine the shoes on your feet, bro. Just,
that's
just,
it.
just imagine.
have the have your second phone out as well, your burner phone or laptop, just in case. Do you know what I mean? Just keep refreshing. And then yeah, man, I think I want to ask you as well. I think the last we'll start closing this off, but compared to last year, do you think this year has been better, on par, or worse for like releases overall? What you wanted, what you got, and yeah, like I guess collaborations and just releases in general. What would you say compared to last year?
I think this year, everything's come to a head this year in terms of what's going on. Obviously, we hit on that earlier on, but last year was really it was terrible, especially
Mm,
for collabs, any sort of hype pair. You sort of went in with a 10 to 15% chance.
yeah,
Whereas this year, you're like, oh, hold on a minute, I've hit on like two or three. I fancy my chances here. So it's almost sort of bumped up to 60, 65%.
yeah,
So there's definitely been a shift in terms of being able to cop pairs. Last year was terrible. Like I said, I didn't hit on pretty much anything that I wanted. Um, I think I hit on two or three pairs. Actually, my most notable pair that I hit on last year was my Haritos, which is like
Mm,
SB Dunks. That was the biggest hit for me of the year, and also the Spider-Man Jordan ones, which I
yeah.
hit on exclusive access, which was a week after that. So I had a period of 2 weeks which my luck was in,
Mm,
but apart from that, it was really dreadful last year for me. But this year, from the turn of the year, honestly, my luck's been in.
mm.
And you can see there's been that shift. So I don't know what it's been like for you, but this year I've fancied my chances with every single um, pair of shoes that I've gone for.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think even compared to last year, I think my most sort of excitable releases or cops have been like GRs. I mean, there were the 95s, you know, the hyper turquoise, the
Oh,
reverse neons, those sort of stood
quality.
out to me. I believe last year was the white cement reimagines,
Yes,
the big bubbles, obviously the reds, Air Max ones. Other than that, and yeah, like you said, the Jordan 1 Spider-Mans, I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Like I wore them to the sort of cinema when I watched the film. Obviously, Spider-Man
same, same.
hoodie.
I remember the
Got
photos you took
yeah,
next to the billboard. You
yeah,
had your
yeah, yeah. I
shoes
was
on.
gassed, man. Got
Yeah.
big Spider-Man fan. Um, but yeah, I think this year alone, even though it's like you said, it's a lot easier to cop whatever you want to cop, and you stand more of a chance. I think there's more sort of excitable releases this year, like more. And I'm not talking about your just standard Travis Scotts and whatever. Like I'm talking about shoes that are different, whether they are collabs or whatever. But you're actually able to get them, which makes you enjoy them more. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, the Nigels, the Amaminia Freeze, even the Jordan 1 Low Mockers, not a collab, but still one of those shoes that surprises you in a good way. So personally for me, I think this year it started off slow, but it definitely picked up to the point where I can vouch at the moment anyway. It's definitely better than last year. Like retros, releases, obviously chlorophylls, huffs, everything else, man. Definitely this year's been way better.
Oh, 100%, 100% agree with you. Um, like I said, it's been much more easier to cop pairs, and also apart from raffles and everything else, I think resale hasn't been too bad this year.
Yeah.
So if you missed out, even if you missed out on a pair, it's not been too bad. Like the most I paid this year, above retail was probably £50. I'm
Mm.
excluding the huffs from that because that was,
Yeah.
a hit
Yeah.
on that. But I think it was about £50 this year, and that was it. And that was, I believe, my Vomero fives, the Supersonics.
That's it. Yeah.
You remember I went for those; they just went off the shelves. So
Yeah.
um, I think resale's also been, I mean, something that we haven't really mentioned because it has been fair, so to speak. It has been very fair resale prices.
Yeah. 100%. Even telling the story about the Nigel Sylvesters, the Jordan 4 RMs, you messaged me in the morning how you hit on the sneakers. And I looked at it, I forgot all about the release and everything. I was like, nah, I can't believe it. I think Offspring pushed back their release because of stock and stuff like that, delivery. And then I was like, right, eBay now before it goes crazy, considering how the green pair went. Went on eBay, I think all in, it was about 168. I picked them up for.
Yeah,
Um, and then all of a sudden, I just, for some reason, I just typed it in on Google and then it was sitting on Foot Asylum. And I was like, nah. So then I picked up my size. Then Offspring had their release a bit later on their story. Could get them, no problem. And then luckily cancelled the eBay order, thankfully. But that's like I said earlier, like they before they get the pairs, they list it up and then they ship it. So luckily that worked in my favor where they cancelled it. But yeah, it's exactly spot on with resale. Like even if obviously bar excluding the Travis Scotts and probably like maybe Nina Chanel's and stuff like that, it's so easy to get that it's I think as well, just thinking about it off the top of my head, the price increases on certain shoes have probably made the resale market less desirable for some people. Because say you hit on a retail price or retail on a shoe, that's high enough anyway. So if you miss out, you're like, do you know what? let's look at resale, but resale has to bump up even more to make up that markup. So maybe that's worked in our favor as a consumer. Like resale isn't as high because the retail price is higher. And yeah, the way it's going, it's only going to get worse in that sense because Jordan 3s are going up like 210, 220 now. Jordan 4s are
It's
creeping through.
crazy. The markups at the moment are crazy. I was watching another show this morning, talking about the markups. Um, I mean, standard J1s, I remember were like 135, 145.
Yeah,
Now you're paying up to 190,
yeah,
it's crazy.
crazy.
Jordan 4s were like 140, we're looking at 190, 200.
Yeah,
So there's definitely been a massive shift, in prices at the moment. So obviously companies like Nike and maybe certain other companies have looked at resale prices and they're thinking, right, if these people are sort of willing to pay these prices, they won't mind sort of if there's a little bit of a markup as
yeah,
long as they can get the shoes. So I think that's another reason why we're seeing a lot more pairs being produced, but at a higher price, is because they know people will pay that money. Simple
yeah,
as
yeah,
these people have analysts and stuff. They look at resale prices, and that's what they base their prices off. If
yeah,
if resale, let's say on a Jordan 1 low, let's say is 200 on a semi
mm,
sort of hype pair, they'll release a retro version and say, right, 180 quid, so
yeah, yeah.
it's not rocket science.
Yeah, I think Nike are sort of starting to become notorious with releasing a hype shoe, uh, whether it is, collaboration or whatever, but then releasing the GR colorway to that collab or shoe where it's near enough, same vibe. Like even with the RMs, with the GR green that you copped, very similar to the Nigel Sylvester, the first one.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, Obviously Jordan 1 low mockers, kind of biting off the Travis Scotts as well. Um, but people don't care. Like we've stopped caring. Like who's really trying to say, oh, the Travis Scott low mockers, I mean Jordan 1 low mockers are the fake Travis Scotts. Like we're not trying to say that. Like people actually really like the mockers, whether it is the high or low.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
it's they're sort of becoming that kind of brand, but it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just it's the price increases even to like Air Max 95s and Air Max Plus. Like the Napoli TNs that I just got were £185. Now that is ridiculous.
That's a
Like
ridiculous markup. But this is a good question I'd like to put out there. I mean, would you be happy to pay a bit more of a markup on shoes, knowing that you would be able to cop a pair? Or do you still think, do you know what? It's just ridiculous. I'm not going to pay that much. Because let's not forget, we do go back to buy pairs on resale. Um, and it is ridiculously priced, some of these shoes. But if Nike or anyone else is coming out and saying, look, we're putting a markup, but we're producing more shoes, you will be able to cop a pair. Is that something you'll be happy with? So it's a good question to put forward to people as well. Like,
yeah.
you happy with that? Would you, be willing to sort of pay a markup as long as you can get the pair?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely let us know in the comments. I can obviously only speak for myself, but I think it's all dependent on the release and the shoe. Obviously standard Jordan 4s or Jordan 1s, depending on the colorway, whatever, it's gonna put a lot of people off. Like even with the Amamiya 3s, I think it was 210 in the UK, I believe,
Yeah.
at retail over here. But even that, maybe that's one of the reasons why they were sitting in a lot of places. I know some people actually won on Offspring too, and then someone had on their story all of these pairs just not collected, and
Sitting,
in
yeah,
the
there's
end,
no one collected, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I
in
mean,
the
when I
end,
went to go and collect
Offspring had to
mine, there was
re-release
quite
them.
a few boxes just sitting at the back.
Yeah,
Obviously, what they do is they have a list of names, whoever's, won the raffle, and then they go and collect your box. But there was loads of boxes sitting, and
yeah.
I collected mine like a day later, and there was still loads of boxes there.
Mhm. Yeah, that's it. I think in the end they had to re-release it as first come first serve, which fair
Yeah,
play to them. But yeah, I think it's a good time for collectors. Depending, obviously, you're not really gonna be going after every release anyway, but at the same time, you have to be more selective because of the price hikes and stuff like that. I feel like reselling is definitely slowing down, depending on what's what and what's releasing. But yeah, I think it's an amazing time to be a collector, and I feel like it's slowly becoming ours again as a collector. Before it, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was like just hype be central, content. People were pushing out all the Travis, the other collabs, where that's all was the cool thing. Now you've got other brands like you mentioned earlier, New Balance killing it, Saucony, Asics up. I think they're pushing New Balance right down the line because they're killing it with the Marvel collection coming out with Kith.
Oh, Kif's
You know what
actually.
I mean?
Oh wow, yeah, that's
Yeah.
another story for another day. But yeah, there's just so many at the moment. Everyone's just sort of pushing each other in the market, but there's a lot of good
Yeah.
things going on with all these other companies as well. Honestly, but like you, I've always been a Nike man. I will always be a Nike man.
Yeah.
That I don't think that will ever deviate. But there might be certain occasions. I'm not saying I'll ever buy a pair of Sambas, but there might be a certain occasion where I might buy another pair. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can't. I'm not going to comment on the Sambas, man. I think that is definitely a story for another day with that one. I think New Balance though, they've slowly started to become my second favorite brand. I mean, 2002 R's probably one of my most worn shoes, like as a beater. Do you know what I mean? The
yeah,
protection pack. Um, and I think the truffle colorway I've got, I just literally by the door sometimes, whack them on, don't even think about it. But yeah, like you said, always, I think always going to be a Nike boy, a Nike fanboy, if you want to call it that. But it's just nostalgia, really, man. Like, because New Balance weren't really around for us as kids.
listen, it's
They
what
weren't
I
really
grew
that
up.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're not that far apart, but in terms of like age and stuff. But where,
Mm,
where I grew up, Nike was and still is the biggest brand. I mean, it
yeah.
was just the most appealing for me. I mean, maybe you went through the same thing as well. Countless days in the classroom just drawing swooshes, just drawing
No,
kicks,
yeah, yeah.
where
And
different
the
kicks,
S,
yeah,
the S with the
and the S
three.
as well, the dollar
Oh man.
sign, everything,
Yeah,
But I mean, look, before we do wrap up, I just wanted to touch on one more thing. Um, we've obviously spoken about numbers and things like that. We know that Travis Scott is releasing another pair of Jordan 1 lows,
yeah.
and the release numbers have been confirmed as 150,000 pairs.
Okay, okay.
I mean, what's your take on that? Because everything we've just spoken about tonight, in terms of releasing more pairs, bit more increase to the price,
Mm,
that is exactly what's going on here.
yeah,
Exactly to a T.
yeah,
Because I think they've realized, it's such an exclusive pair. No one, everyone wants them, but nobody's able to get a pair.
yeah,
Uh, imagine being able to sell, and they will, 150 pairs of Travis Scott's. Sorry, 150,000 pairs of Travis Scott's. And that
yeah.
is a wild move from Nike. Let's be honest. Yes, they're going to pay a bit more production, but they full well know every single one of those pairs are going to be sold.
Yeah, yeah, easily, easily. The thing is, we saw it slightly with the Canaries that came out recently, the little specials. Some people call them. You know, the yellow with the blue
Yeah,
swoosh.
yeah,
Yes, they sold out, and yes, they're reselling. But compared to a normal sort of, how can you say it, like a nude color, the browns, greens, and stuff like that, they're relatively cheap. Like they're going for about 3, 4, 500, depending on where you look in, what size. So maybe they've seen that and been like, right, let's go back a bit. Let's bring out what we're used to, the greens and everything else for fall and autumn, and then let's maybe increase the numbers and then maybe the price as well, and then see how far they get with the resale market and stock numbers and stuff like that. Because obviously, certain retailers are going to be able to get them. Um, but yeah, I think I know I sound like a bit of a flip flop, but I think if I want to do it right, I need to get at least one Travis Scott in the collection, like a Jordan 1
100%.
low,
100%.
because it's been a point where I don't know for you, Hash, you can touch on it in a bit, but I've always wanted one, but I haven't cared enough to get one or pay resale, and I'm never spending $1,000 on a pair of shoes. Yeah, I don't know, Matt. Are you in the same boat, or have you got any
I'll
Travis
be honest
Scotts?
with you, it's not one that's been on my holy grail list. There's so many others that are on my holy grail list. The Cherry Woods would probably come out on top of it.
Oh,
Any Travis Scott over any Travis
yeah,
Scott. Um, but like you said, it's a very, very important part of sneaker culture. What Travis Scott has done for the culture, for Nike, and to own a part of that, I think would be amazing.
yeah,
And I think it's one that I do need in my collection of shoes as well. Whether it's this next drop or maybe if resale is adequate for me to buy,
mm,
100%. Like you just said, it's got to be done because it's a big part of sneaker culture. You know.
yeah, yeah. Because obviously we heard, I think it was last year or so, where they said, "Oh, Travis and Jordan ones are no longer like no more releases, no more collaborations," and then we just see all these other colorways coming out. So they know they're onto a minefield, or gold mine, I should say, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. So maybe just to get one, just to have that, because when it's all said and done, when they stop working together, and maybe when he goes to another brand, like the Sean Wotherspoon situation, that's still probably my biggest grail. You know, the
Yeah.
97 on
100%.
one,
Yeah.
and I know Travis has a bigger catalog, way more colorways, way more shoes, but I don't want it to get to that point with every single pair that I actually like the look of, where it's unattainable or unreasonable for me to pay that money. You know?
Yeah. 100% agree with you. I think certainly the Travis Scotts now, like you said, with the Canaries and the upcoming release as well, should be somewhat easier to sort of obtain. Even like the Sean Wotherspoons, like in our size, 8.5, 9, you can get a really, really good used pair, almost dead stock condition, um, for around £400 to £500, maybe even cheaper,
Yeah.
in some cases. But brand new, you're probably looking at about £600 to £700.
Yeah.
£1,000 for a signed version, which we know there are quite a few out there which have been signed by Sean Wotherspoon himself. But yeah, I just feel like those singular collaborations with like Sean Wotherspoon are more exclusive than what
Mm,
Travis Scott is at the moment, simply
yeah.
because
Yeah.
they haven't had any other collaborations. That is the only pair that you can get a hold of, so it holds more weight. So
Yeah. Exactly. Spot on, man. Well, Has, it's been amazing, man. We've been speaking almost 2 hours. It's flown by, honestly. Let me know in the comments, obviously, on any other topics we touched on. What I'm going to do, I'm going to chop it up, edit as well. It's flowed seamlessly, to be fair. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep most of it in. I think 95% in, bar obviously the interruption earlier.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, it's been amazing, Has. Let the people know, obviously, if you've got anything in the pipeline. Obviously, your deli as well, promote that. Do you know what I mean? If you're comfortable doing so. And yeah, let the people know what you got in the works.
Yeah, I'll talk a bit about my deli. I won't go into too much detail, but I run my own deli, which is based in Eltham, uh, on Avery Hill Road. It's called the Avery Deli, and yeah, we just do loads of good food, man. We just do loads of interesting stuff, whether it's pastries, sandwiches, wraps, everything, soul food. And another thing that not many people are privy to is that I'm actually planning to do meetups for sneakerheads, maybe every 2 to 3 months, where people can come over on certain invitational days, where you can have a safe space to sell your shoes, maybe meet other people from the culture, from the community, should I say, and just generally just as a little meetup. I think it'll be a good thing. So keep an eye out for that. And then, yeah, you can catch me on my socials on Instagram, HB Kicks, HBKICKZZ. You can catch me on there. I post 2 or 3 times a week. And yeah, we've been speaking to Akin about starting up my own channel soon. So that's something that's in the works, hopefully towards the end of the year. But certainly it's been a great show with you, and hopefully if you guys want to see more stuff like this, then let us
Yeah.
know, and I'm sure um Akin, you'll be up for doing more shows and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. It's been amazing, bro. Same when I jumped on obviously your platform with football. Funnily enough, obviously North London derby this Sunday. I'm not as optimistic because obviously injuries. But yeah, it's been great having you, bro. First guest, obviously, officially with me hosting. Hopefully more to come as well. Let us know in the comments if you like the banter, if you like the chemistry and everything else. But either way, we're still gonna waffle. It's not going to be the last time you see Hass on the channel. Follow him on all his socials. Also, when it comes to having his meetups and stuff, I'm definitely going to be there supporting. So keep an eye out on both of our socials. And yeah, just keep it locked. Subscribe, obviously follow Hass as well. And yeah, until the next episode, broskies. Peace.